Hello and welcome back to My Mom's Basement, ladies and gentlemen. It is Robbie Fox, and I am here with Sean Waltman, X-Pac, the 123 kid, whatever you want to call him. I'll call him a legend, is what I'll call him. And we are here ahead of his first match in what's it going to be? 3 years, almost 4 years. I think it was April 2019. I looked up
That's
was
right.
your match, and it's
Yeah.
GW Heartbreak, and it's going to be in LA. You and Joey Janela versus the major players.
Yeah. Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. Yeah, man. Robbie, Matt Cardona's tearing it up, man. Like he's an asshole or whatever, but like I gotta give him the utmost credit, man. Like he came out of WWE and just started killing it, man, and just collecting belts like a anyways, yeah. So I mean, like honestly, I'm really happy these are my first opponents.
You know, I spoke with Matt Cardona yesterday, actually, and I asked him for a comment. I said, I'm going to be speaking with your opponent later in the week. Can you give me a comment? And he actually did. So I'm going to play it for you on the mic and I'll
Okay.
get a response.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear this.
I'm going to have X-Pac on my show tomorrow. Is there anything you
Yep.
would like me to say to him? Is there any questions you would like for him?
Say this. Suck it.
I'm not going to say that to X-Pac.
Why not?
Me?
We'll say that I said it.
All right.
I said Matt Cardona has 2 words for you. Suck it.
All right.
And
I'll
then do
tell
the
him that.
crotch chop.
He didn't want to break out any of his good stuff, huh?
No good material. He just took yours, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well.
From fan of yours to foe, unbelievable journey both of these major players have taken.
Last year at WrestleCon, he's like, oh, my best friend here, please sign my 123 kid Hasbro. And like, it was cool, it's nice when people are like that with you. And then as soon as I announced on the bump that I was making my comeback and I got cleared, he started healing the fuck out of me, man.
Yeah, and then you came back at the Hammerstein Ballroom. It was what a moment that was, GCW.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You looked so fluid in the ring with that kick, with the moves. Were you worried you were going to rip those jeans? Those jeans look pretty tight.
Okay. They were. And here's the thing, man. Like, they're made of a stretchy material, so they look like old school, like acid wash jeans, but I could kick just fine. I could probably kick easier in those than in my new gear that I just had made.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The problem was this, Robbie. I don't know if you remember, but like as soon as Cardona got the win and the people, like, they promised they were going to riot, and they started to. And there was shit in the ring. There was not actual shit, but man, there was beer, cups. It was like a slip and slide in there. Like, I mean, I thought I was gonna eat shit before I even got my first kick in.
Were you worried, like when you come out and the place is going wild? Are you looking at the ring and seeing all the garbage? Like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What was the most?
Because what happens, man? Like, because you know how good it went, right? But if I would have slipped and fell, that would have been a laughable moment. It would have just fucked everything.
That would have been brutal. That would have been really bad. What was like the most pressure you ever felt to perform?
Man, that's a good question, because I think when I was younger, okay, I'm going to tell you, I can actually answer that with pinpoint accuracy now. It took me a second to think. It was my tryout match when I first came to WWF in 1993. And I had a match with Louis Spicolli. I had another one with him the next night. It was in Phoenix, Arizona, and Tucson. And man, I mean, there was so much on the line, Robbie.
Yeah.
And I was so fortunate to have Louis as my opponent, and he gave me a hell of a match. Yeah. And I did like everything I could think of to try to get that job, and luckily it worked.
Do you remember like the moment where they were like, "Yeah, you got it"?
Yeah. Well, see, I remember camping outside of Vince's dressing room after the match, waiting just to get like even just an eye contact or a thumbs up, and Kurt Hennig walks by me, and like Bret. The coolest thing was after my match, Bret Hart came up to me. We didn't know each other. I met Owen a little bit, but he came up and he was like, "Man, I'm a fan of your work, man. That was really good." Like, and dude, that was huge for me, and because he's one of my biggest influences. And then so Kurt Hennig, and I knew Kurt from Minnesota, and Kurt walks up to me, he goes, "So you want a job? You want the job here?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Okay, 1 second." And he walks into Vince's room, and then he walks back out. I don't know if he actually even said anything about me, But Vince finally comes out. And he comes up to me and thanks me or whatever. And so that's kind of how that went. But it took like it's probably about a month. I got a phone call from Vince and Pat. They laid the whole thing out to me, Robbie. The whole 1, 2, 3 kid Razor Ramon like storyline.
all prepped?
Yeah, man.
Wow,
yeah,
that's unbelievable. I think I told you this in maybe our first interview, and this might have been 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But one of those matches, I think it was the $10,000 match, was on the WWF's Most Unusual VHS tape, and that was my first introduction to wrestling ever. It was that match. It was a lumberjack match. It was Brett and Sean in a ladder match before
a ladder match.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But man, I watched that 1, 2, 3 kid Razor Ramon match 100 times as a kid.
Yeah, man, I almost died. Well, I don't know if I almost died, but man, I got messed up pretty bad on that one.
Yeah.
Did they show it on the VHS when I fell on my face? Yeah.
Big time. Yeah, that was on the VHS.
Yeah.
So burned into my memory forever.
Scott also dumped me pretty hard on a choke slam real early in the match.
Were you guys close at that point, or no? You guys were just becoming acquainted?
We weren't close because we didn't know each other that well, but he was already like very like nurturing and took me under his wing and tried to be, just he was so good about that, because Kurt Hennig was like that with him. Yeah. And Scott's always been really good about that.
There's a lot of people that have said that you're very good about that as well. Like, obviously, you probably saw the clip of Dax coming out this week and saying that you were very nice to him at Raw 25 and stuff. There's been other wrestlers throughout the industry. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to newer wrestlers coming up through the business when it comes to the outside of the ring stuff, when it comes to the politics and the backstage stuff? What would you say to someone to navigate their way through that?
I would say do the exact opposite of the shit that I did, because here's the thing, Robbie, I was so young, and to be all of a sudden in the WWE locker room, WWF locker room with all these big old grown ass fucking men that are just big badasses and, so much older than me, most of them. And it was almost like all of a sudden now they have this kid they got to raise in the locker room, right? Like it wasn't their responsibility or anything, but like, anyways, it was so important for me to fit in and be accepted that I just did stupid shit, Yeah. And I didn't have to do that, I really didn't. And I would hope that, and I think the substance stuff had a lot to do with it, just being messed up, and all that. I just be you, man. Like, don't worry about impressing people or I don't know. That sounds kind of cliche, man. I mean, honestly, it's tough.
It's good advice,
it's tough to navigate though, because it's important to fit in, mm-hmm. But it's how it's just, man, it's so tough. Like people say, oh, I don't do politics. Well, you kind of have to a little bit. You don't have to do dirty politics, but man, it's really tough. It's easier for me to tell guys like how to, things about like the inside the ring stuff.
Yeah.
Because like for me, it's like my thing to everyone is like, you got to be different. You got to stand out. Like for instance, nowadays, like being great in the ring, you don't stand out being great in the ring anymore because everyone's great. Like the bar is set to where like just minimum you're great in the ring, right?
Yeah, you better be great.
So yeah, you got to have other shit going. Like you could be like a little bit less than great, but if you got all the other stuff going on that a lot of other guys these days are missing, man, that'll make you the star.
Who are the ones for you that are doing it right nowadays that have that other stuff that you really enjoy watching?
Wow. You know what? There's this kid that I saw, and like last time I saw him, he tried a little too hard to impress me, I think, or just like maybe I don't know if it was me, but there's this kid. He's from Vegas, and his name's JV Dow. He's a real pretty kid, man. Like I don't know if you ever seen him.
I think I have on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, but like he's very like kind of exotic, and he really stands out. He might not be the absolute best guy in the ring, like, on the show, but like there's something just special about the guy. And that's a guy really I don't think a lot of people have heard of.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout. That's everyone go check him out.
Yeah.
And someone that I would bring up as someone that's very creative in the pro wrestling business is actually your partner in this tag match, Joey Janela. You guys go way back, right? You guys have known each other for a really long time. Am I right
Yes.
about that?
Yeah. And Joey's brilliant,
Yeah.
you know? And like for him, I think like up in like recently in the last year or so, man, I've seen him, man, he's taken it to a different level for himself. Like he's leveled up. He was always very brilliant and coming up with cool shit and being willing to do some crazy shit, right? To get attention.
He's
now
always
like
willing to take a ridiculous bump. Yeah.
Yeah, but now like he's worked on his body. He looks more the part, and like he's more aggressive in there, and his matches are even better now. So huge amount of respect for him, man. We're not that like we're not fully compatible, but you don't have to be, man. Kane and I weren't.
Yeah. Shout out you. Shout out Jared Carabas, our pal, heartbroken forever over that breakup.
He's still hot, right?
Yeah, still hot over it. You can't bring it up in front of him; it'll ruin his night.
It's amazing to me, Robbie. It's amazing to me that like there's still legit feelings surrounding that, with people still mad at me, like knowing full well it's a show, but still they're scarred from it, man.
He tells that story to future candidates for his girlfriend, and he's like, just so you know, this is when I got my heart broken. I've never been the same way. You have been in front of sold out stadiums, X-Pac. I was there at WrestleMania 31 when you guys came out, and it was the DX versus NWO match. It was right in the middle of Triple H versus Sting. There's got to be something special about coming out to a rabid, smaller house, though, right? Like if the fans are going crazy and it's that smaller punk rock feel, do you still love that?
Just as much.
Yeah.
It's different. I mean, obviously the magnitude of like walking out there and there's like 80,000 or 50,000, people, it's insane. But, for instance, the Ukrainian Cultural Center we're going to be in on Friday holds about 1,000, something like that. And they're always, and it's going to be jam packed.
Yeah.
And the crowd, the energy is hot, right? So it's a different feel, man. It's just a different kind of an intensity, and you got to work to the crowd differently, because you're not worried about the people up in the nosebleeds, like it's weird. Like you got to change your styles work a little differently when you're in front of an intimate crowd like you're talking about, or say the big stadium, or even the 25,000 seat arena. So
do you enjoy working the arena crowd over working the smaller crowd, or is there something more fun about the intimate?
I think it's more fun with the intimate stuff, but you got to pay attention to details more, because the people are right there. Okay. And like I got more comfortable working in front of the bigger crowds, because it's just like sometimes you can get away with doing stuff you could never get away with doing in the
and you look at it, it's like a sea of people, right? It's just like eventually it just becomes a big blur.
Yeah. And you got like people these days that are like this close to the ring. Sometimes even pounding on the ring, right?
Yeah, exactly. I asked you before what the most pressure you ever felt to perform was, and now I want to know the flip side. What was the most fun you ever had performing?
Oh, it was once we got like so we were doing DX and the heel version.
Yeah.
The second time around when Hunter was, and we would have matches, house show matches with like Rock and the Dudleys, things like that, like, or the Rock and APA, and it'd be like me, Road Dogg, and Hunter, and we could just do stuff. We could cut up a little bit and get away with it. Hunter would do the spot with Earl Hebner. He would take a bump, and then we all took a bump for Earl. You could never do that shit on TV.
Yeah, those clips, I love watching them still. The push against the ropes, push back and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just fun, and the people ate it up, and man, so those were really cool.
That's awesome. Speaking of house show matches, I saw on Twitter recently you were searching for a house show match between you and Hunter Hearst Helmsley for 1995 from MSG. What was special about that one?
Okay. Do you know the story about Bill Watts coming to work for WWF when Vince wasn't sure if he was going to jail?
Yes, I was at the JR live show in Jersey where you came out, and JR was telling that story. Yeah.
Was that in Paramus or something?
It
Where
was
was
in
it?
the Starland
The
Ballroom.
Starland Ballroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Bill Watts gets hired, right?
Mhm.
And okay, the significance of this match is a couple things. One thing was that was Hunter's very first Madison Square Garden match, and it was versus me. I had a lot of guys' first matches when they came to WWE. Hunter was one of them, and so we didn't do anything out of the ordinary that we did. That we just did the same type of match we did everywhere else, but was we always put everything into our match, no matter, we were at the Garden, but nobody knew Bill Watts was sitting up in the crowd watching without people knowing, so we could get an idea of who was good in his eyes, or who he wanted to do stuff with creatively.
Yeah.
And he loved our match, man. I mean, we got over big time with Bill that night.
That's awesome. That's a really cool story.
And it was a good match too. It was a good opening preliminary match. Not trying to go out and do everything on the book and every 20,000 ball. It was just it was perfect for that spot on the card, and he appreciated that too.
Yeah, you got to know your spot on the card. Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of wrestling that goes under talked about. Something else that goes under talked about when it comes to Sean Waltman, X-Pac, I think, is the Star Wars fandom. I've tweeted a couple times about Star Wars.
Yeah.
You respond with things where I'm like, damn, this guy knows his shit. He's a big Star Wars guy.
Yeah, your thermal detonator tweet yesterday.
Oh my God. Yeah. When did you get into Star Wars?
Man, I was like 4 or 5, and we lived up in northern Minnesota, and didn't go to. I don't remember. I think it was like the only movie I think I ever went to when I was that age. Like, I was running in aisles, when it was the New Hope. It was the first Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it was just, it blows you away, man. When you
remember the phenomenon of it all.
Yeah, just the whole, like, because I was like 4 or 5. And so, like, looking at that through the 4 or 5-year-old's eyes, like, it was just amazing. I mean, just like when I first watched wrestling live. Yeah. I was 10, and I was still complete. I fell in love with it. It was just, so yeah, man. And I told you, it's not that popular sentiment, but I'm a fan of the prequels, man.
I know. Yeah. I remember you tweeting me that. You said you took your kids out of school, I think the day episode 1 came out, to take them to see that. And
I took them out of school several times, and it got to the point both of my kids hate Star Wars. Oh yeah, because I shoved it down their throat too much. I wanted so bad to share Star Wars with my kids, but you push it on somebody too much, and I'd say, hey, you guys want to go to the movies? Like, stay home from school? And they'd be like, yeah. And I go see Star Wars, and they go, oh.
I couldn't be more opposite. So the prequels from the first episode 1, 2, and 3, like, you saw them in theaters, you loved them from the jump.
Well, I understood the flaws in them, but I really loved a lot of things about, for instance, like that whole fight scene at the end with Ray Park. He was amazing as Darth Maul, right?
So good. The Duel of the Fates. Yeah, that score behind it. Tremendous. Yeah,
all of that, and just also the underlying story throughout the prequels, like the false flag, like the guy working 2 sides against each other. Just I loved all that shit.
Face turns, heel turns. I'm a fan of the prequels because obviously I'm a kid of the prequels. So it felt like those were kind of made for me as I was growing up. Never realized that people didn't even like them until I got a little older. But yeah, I'm kind of like you. Like, I recognize the flaws. I get it. They're not the perfect movies, but are they more fun to watch than a non-Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
In my eyes, they are. Yeah, I love Star Wars. It just, that's what it is for me. Do you remember finding out, like, oh my God, I can't believe Vader is Luke's father? You remember seeing Empire?
Yes. But I didn't go see the movie because no one took me back at that point. But I read the graphic novel comic book.
Yeah.
So, I got to see it that way. I saw Return of the Jedi before I saw Empire Strikes Back, believe it or not.
Oh, really? You must be one of the only people that has that claim.
Maybe. But I knew the story of Empire through the comic book, but it's just there. You didn't have VHS. Right? There was no way for me to see it. Like after it was out of the theaters.
Do you have a favorite Star Wars movie?
Probably Return of the Jedi, if I have to be honest with you.
Big fan of the happy ending, the big heroes win in the end.
Yeah. And also I kind of like the special editions that when they took the original ones and kind of updated them. And, because some of that shit,
I grew up with, yeah. You're into some other quote unquote nerdy stuff as well. I remember us tweeting back and forth about Watchmen when that was on. I know you're a big fan of that. Like other nerdy stuff. There's other stuff that makes you geek out in this realm, right? Yeah,
I think Watchmen might be one of the greatest single seasons of television ever made.
Cannot agree anymore. It was perfect from start to finish. Did you watch Peacemaker?
Also, like for what it is, especially like recently, like it's one of the best. My wife loved it too. We binged the whole thing because she didn't see the whole thing.
You don't need to be a superhero fan. You don't need to be a nerd. Like this show was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you like that. What are the other things like into superheroes overall? You into the MCU and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I'm a little late getting into it though. Like, I'm a late on the MCU stuff. And even later on DC, man, because I didn't like I liked Superman and the Superman versus Batman and stuff, but like that Justice League stuff, that sucked until the
I'm with you.
The Snyder Cut came out. That's what got me hooked a little bit on DC stuff.
You like the Snyder Cut?
I did. I didn't mind the 4 hours. Like I just watched it in stages.
Yeah, I thought it was so friggin' long. I was like, how could you make a 4-hour movie? But it definitely improved the original. So, I mean, I'm excited about the future. I think the new Batman movie is going to be pretty sick with Robert Pattinson and everything.
And remember when the news first came out, how people were all shitting on that? Like, man, then that trailer came out and everyone changed their tune.
Real quick, as soon as they heard that Nirvana kick in, I think back to when people said that about Heath Ledger getting cast as the Joker. I remember so many message boards, people on, the guy from Brokeback Mountain's going to play the Joker. And he gave one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in a movie, I would say, in that performance. So like people, same thing about Kristen Stewart. When she got cast as Princess Diana, people shit on her. Then they saw pictures and they said, now I could see it. Everyone's just got to chill, let things play out before they react to it, especially in wrestling too.
Yeah, man.
All right. Before I get you out of here, where can people watch The Return? And one more question. What is X-Pac's favorite movie of all time? We talked about Star Wars movies, but if you had to pick one movie, do you have one?
It depends, man. Wow. Hey, man, there's this movie. It might not be my favorite, but it's one that always comes in my mind whenever somebody asks me. Time Bandits. Did you ever see it?
Yeah, a long time ago. I think I might have that from like the Little Ferry Library where I grew up. What a unique pick. I love that.
It's weird.
No, I like it for a pick. It's not like, The Godfather.
Right.
Godfather. Yeah, Time Bandits.
I mean, I love all the normal ones that people would pick too, but like just crazy shit pops into my head,
Oh, that's unique. People get a sense of like who you are from that. And where can they watch your return? Are there still tickets available? It'll be Thursday when this comes out, so it'll be tomorrow.
There might be a few tickets, but they're all general admission. But I'm assuming it's going to be sold out. Yeah, and it's a double header too, man. There's another show the next night here in the same building that's probably almost sold out too, which is crazy, right?
The vibe of GCW right now is awesome. It feels like that punk rock. We're on the rise. We're all supporting each other. The fans are in on it. I feel like it's the perfect company for you to return to.
Yeah, I feel so too, man. I feel very comfortable there, and everyone's been great to me. The whole crew, man. They've been very welcoming. But you can watch it on Fight TV. If you can't make it to the show, Fight TV. Fight TV is a great service, man.
It is,
So, I hope everyone tunes in, man.
I'll be watching. I'll be cheering you and Janela on against the major douches. And
Thanks,
I hope
Rob.
to get you on the show soon. We'll talk Star Wars. We'll talk other things, nerdy stuff, music we'll get into next time. I really appreciate the time. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you.